This video here is basically a showcase of how I believe the Shimbol wireless video transmitters, it actually is a solution to a major problem. This setup that we have here, the 3-camera multicam streaming, we've merged between two of our studios. Before we had just the recording studio, which was in a completely low-key, light, black dropped scene, whereas before we had just a standing room. Now, successfully combined between the two of them into something that looks like this. So anybody who is involved in online education, online streaming, video streaming, as we've got over here. So I want to walk you through the setup that we're working with. We basically spent the last couple of days setting up the studio. This entire studio was actually situated on the other side of this building. And we had to basically move 3 rooms worth of stuff and consolidate it into basically this one large room. So I just want to quickly show you what this room is. We have this one streaming space that you just saw over here. And then this here is like a multi-purpose room where people can come in, sit down and attend classes and things like that. But we also kind of set it up like a set. Right here is the 100 subscriber YouTube plug. What we wanted to do is we wanted to separate between the two of them. This would be ad hoc. Right now it's a little messy, but we would empty all of this out, lay down the rug, have classes, things like that. But then when we're doing things online, we needed the appropriate online setup. Now this here is a 3-camera, multi-camera live streaming setup. So we got camera 1 here, which is a Sony ZV-E10 with a 16mm f1.4 Sigma lens. This here is a Sony a6400 with a Sigma 18 to 35mm lens that's adapted. If I can go ahead and cut to that, that's what this lens is. And this lens up here is also another Sony a6400 with the Sigma 18 to 50mm f2.8 lens, intended for overhead and showcasing anything that would be in the overhead instruction. Now, in any kind of situation, what you want is, when you've got a multi-camera setup, you need all 3 of these feeds coming into a switcher. What we're using is an ATEM Mini Pro ISO from Blackmagic Design. The great thing about this is that this can feed an HDMI signal to wherever you're going. Now, normally what you would do is feed the HDMI signal either into a confidence monitor of sorts, so that way you can see all of your angles, or you would feed it into a computer. So you have to choose between either getting a confidence monitor or feeding that signal into the computer, at least to my limited technical know-how. Challenge is when you're doing instruction and you want to feed the multi-camera signal, as we have here, to your audience, and we're viewing this on OBS Studio. It can be OBS Studio, it can be a Zoom call or a Zoom meeting, but either way, you'll be able to cut between the multiple angles. So the thing is, you don't want to have to choose between the two of them. Now, in an ideal scenario, you would feed something into a confidence monitor like this, and that confidence monitor would have an output to like the computer, and the computer is getting its signal through a Camlink Elgato 4K HDMI to USB adapter. Right? And so that's that right there. So the way that we achieved this, and what allowed us to have both a confidence monitor and a signal coming into the computer that is also being seen on the second monitor here, is using this Shimbol wireless video transmitter. This is probably one of the best value adds I have seen for this kind of setup. It goes for about $89, and it's got a really good visual design. It's not something like a Teradek or some of these other bigger competitors out there. Those guys are designed for major broadcasts, but I believe there's a bigger underserved market that is not willing to pay $400 or $500 for a wireless HDMI streaming setup, and that's where Shimbol comes into play. So you have a simple signal that this basically gets the HDMI signal from the Blackmagic design, wirelessly transmits to this. And now the thing is, everything is in close proximity, but the major solution for this was having 2 HDMI outs. One signal is going into the TV and the other signal is going into the Camlink, allowing me live streaming ability for whatever is going to be broadcast out to the internet, whether we're using OBS or Zoom, or if it's going to be recorded on the computer like I am right now, or alternatively, if you also want to record, you can record via the USB-C onto a portable hard drive. So that's what this thing definitely allows. Now, the other major perk is this. Let's assume somebody is presenting here and you don't want to be involved with the editing if you're an instructor. You can have an editor who does the live switching as you're presenting, and this thing can basically be taken into a different area, and that person can have their own viewing monitor. The instructor is able to see exactly what's happening, but they can also pay attention to the participants in the Zoom call as such. So this is one of the things that I really appreciate. As I'm switching, I go to camera 2, I can talk over here, I can go to camera 3 if I want to show anything in terms of overhead. And this is your typical YouTuber kind of setup. I just need to straighten that up, making sure that we're all in line. And boom. So if we're going to show anything such as this, move the showcase over and above. This is how we do. And this is something that I am super excited to have. This is not the only instance in which you can use the Shimbol, and I really appreciate how we came out here, but you can also use this in seminars. I've used this, recently used this in a seminar production because the cameras that we had with, again, 3 or 4 cameras set up in a single room, and they're kind of far away, but the one camera that I definitely wanted to see up close, make sure everything's in focus, or the instructor that's presenting, that they remain in focus. Instead of having to sit in such close proximity, I can just feed a wireless HDMI signal to where I'm at. So one of the things that Shimbol has claimed is that they've got about 600 feet of transmission distance. For my use case, a few hundred feet is more than enough. The cool thing about this is you can have multiple of these, and you can have multiple monitors, create yourself a little video village, and be able to, maybe, and even from that, you can create a remote multi-camera switching situation. The thing that I wish that they could improve on, though, when I took this out of the box, initially, I was confused as to which one is the transmitter and receiver until I took a much closer look. And if you come look over here, you see that there's an RX and a TX on the bottom. I wish they included up on the top where the black and white would contrast better. Over here is just really, really small. It says TX, so this is the transmitter. This is the RX, that means that's the receiver. And that's one of the things I also wish they gave us multiple colorways. I love the red, and it would be great if they gave us more options. Red, blue, green, yellow, orange, all of the colors of the rainbow and beyond. That way, not just for aesthetic purposes, but also if I have multiple of these, I will know exactly which one is being fed into which camera, or I'm receiving a signal from which camera. Because if I have like 3 sets of these and they're all red, just by visual cue, I'm gonna have to put some sort of like gaff tape that's some different color, so I have a quick visual cue as to not having to guess and not having to necessarily look at the video village feed. So that's the whole showcase of using the wireless video transmitters. 89 bucks, come check it out. Just as a quick disclaimer, Shimbol sent me this to review. I took my time to review it because I really wanted to put it into different situations and see how well this actually works. It's simple, it's a simple device, and it does exactly what they say it's gonna do. And so as a result, I do recommend it. In fact, the instructor that is going to be using the setup just bought his own on Amazon, set to arrive tomorrow. If you're an individual who does live streaming or does any of this kind of stuff, this would actually be really helpful. The other thing that could be really useful is if you have a kid at home and you do a lot of dad cam stuff and you want a wireless video feed, this would also be good for that too, but that would be a discussion for another day. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. I'll see you soon.